one of the biggest questions I get as a strength coach is what is the difference between a back off set and a cluster set? My name is Joseph Lucero, and today we're going to talk about these two types of training sets and what type of lifter would want to use them, and in those cases why or how they would use them and how they would program them and the protocol that would follow after the fact. So back offs, also known as back downs, and cluster sets are great tools for an athlete to work on their strength, whether it's at a lighter percentage or a heavier percentage, to make them better and to perform not just stronger, but with solid technique too. So I personally would advocate for both. Traditionally with my athletes, we do more back off sets and straight sets beforehand, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But cluster sets are a really great tool, especially for more advanced, experienced veteran lifters who are stronger and maybe need to hit their volume from a different perspective. So I'm gonna start from the top. What is a back off set? So, as also known as a back down, these sets are a sub-maximal load of your top set of the day that you can work technique, form, and precision with, and typically they're done with a tempo so that you're able to correct yourself as you perform these back off sets. So let me paint a picture for you, or let me give you a situation. I got someone who just did a top set of 5 on bench, and now they're gonna do some back offs to work on their form and technique without having a heavy load in their hands so that they can be better with the cues I give them and then to correct themselves throughout the movement. So I hit that top set of 5, and then I tell them, hey, you're gonna go 3 sets of 3 with a tempo press. Make sure you come down slow, pause, explode off the chest. I want you to do 3 sets of 3 and use 80% of your top set today from that set of 5. So if my client hit 5 reps on bench with 300 pounds, and I told them to do the back off sets for 3 sets of 3 at 80%, they would do that set with 240, okay? So now that you understand the math, the reason we use a percentage is because now we have consistency with all the other things we do. Like if I hit the squat, the bench, the deadlift, and I always use 80%, now everything is built around a certain standard, so I'm not just making up numbers arbitrarily and just using those as a guide for performance. Back offs or back downs are typically 70 to 80% of your top set for that day, and they're done for, short little reps, 3 sets of 3, could even be 3 sets of 2, or even more like 6 sets of 1 or 6 sets of 2. Just depends on your athlete and their ability, but usually I'll do 3 sets of 3 or 3 sets of 2 or even 3 sets of 1, and I will use 80% of the top set, or if I use 70% of the top set, it's because I'm using accommodating weight like bands or chain. But like I told y'all, it's a sub-maximal load, so we can work on form, technique, and feeling that feedback throughout the rep, especially if it's a tempo-based movement. So back offs are a great tool for a beginner, an advanced, or even an intermediate lifter. Anyone can do them. But cluster sets are a little bit different in the sense of they are about your top set. So remember when I said bench a set of 5, that is the same intensity you'll do with clusters, but you'll take those reps and chunk them up into little efforts with little rest intervals in between. So let's say I told an athlete, today we're gonna deadlift 400 pounds for 6 reps on deadlift, and they don't have really great muscular endurance. We could try something a little bit different. We could do cluster sets. So if I want them to hit a top set of 6, instead of doing 6 sets in a row on deadlift, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I could tell them, hey, I know your muscular endurance is low, but I know percentage-wise we have to hit this number today at 400. What if we did 3 clusters of doubles and you took a 15-second break in between those reps, and then we got the 6 reps done in that sense? So what that would look like, for example, would be instead of 6 in a row, it might be lift once, put it down, wait 10 to 15 seconds, do it again, and then now you rest a little bit longer before the next set of doubles. So if I did 3 clusters of doubles, that's 2, 2, 2, which adds up to 6. Now I've done that volume of 6 reps with 400 chunked up versus all at once if I lack that muscular endurance. It's great for people who are, like I said, a little bit more veteran, experienced, and stronger, because like for myself, I can bench a good amount, about 450 pounds, and on paper, I think that means I should be able to do like 400 pounds for 5 reps. I could never do 5 reps of 400. I could probably do 2 or 3 reps at best. So then what I could do from there is I could hit a couple reps, rest for a second, a couple reps, and I stay in that zone and cluster up the volume to represent my strength in that fashion so I can catch my breath a little bit, because of the percentage being higher and me being stronger, it's hard for me to keep up with that muscular endurance as well. So clusters, you chunk up the reps. Back offs are a lighter percentage, and they're more about technique, form, and precision. So like I mentioned, the purpose of both clusters to help more advanced athletes get through those rigorous, heavy volume sets, and they lack the muscular endurance. And then back offs are a great tool to help you with form, technique, and feedback to get better at your attempts from that perspective. Who should do them? Back offs are for anybody. Clusters, probably more so advanced, experienced, stronger lifters that have to chunk up the effort, because the percentages are much more influential for them versus someone who's not as strong, perhaps. So when it comes down to programming, kind of like I mentioned to you, cluster sets are more about the top set, but back offs are after the fact. So you can't replace them necessarily. They can both coexist. It's just all about context and what you're trying to achieve from there. But both of these concepts are very different than straight sets. So that kind of goes back to when I said, hey, I want you to deadlift 6 reps of 400 on deadlift. If someone can't handle that, they can cluster it. But you also need to think too about what is their ability and what's the goal. Because if I want someone to deadlift 600 or 400 pounds for 6 reps because they're going to do a strongman competition and they have to do multiple reps at a certain weight, I probably want to challenge their consecutive muscular endurance strength in that fashion. If I have someone who's going to deadlift in a powerlifting competition that's just doing 3 singles, then maybe I don't need to worry about straight sets as much. But to define straight sets generally, it's going to be multiple sets of multiple reps, and the intensity does not change. That's more for traditional athletes, basketball, baseball, football, etc. You know, they hit a 1 rep max at 300 on bench. So now the protocol is they can do 10 reps at 70% of their max. So that's 210. So then they'll be able to do 3 sets of 10 on bench with 210 pounds because their max was 300. That's a straight set. For powerlifters and for strongmen, they're going to have a different approach with their top set. They can change the weight so it can kind of pyramid up, but it's not going to be a straight set like you might notice in traditional sports as well. So depending on you and your ability, maybe leave a comment below in the video. You know, like the channel, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts. Do you think something we said in this video is correct or incorrect, or you want us to elaborate a bit more, or maybe help you with your approach and understanding these different types of techniques? If so, like I said, leave a comment, subscribe, like the channel, and hopefully we can catch you next time, and hopefully we're influencing you to be a better athlete and to be stronger more than ever and more capable than ever. Thank you.